When people saw Kim Tucci's maternity pictures, they were awed how beautiful and normal her pregnancy was looking. But when she went into labor and her doctors saw what was happening, they were left reeling in shock as Kim Tucci stood before the photographer. She felt everything but beautiful. Her pregnancy so far had been no fairy tale but an ordeal that pushed the limits of her endurance. Still, she had booked a maternity photo shoot to try and turn that harrowing experience into a pleasant memory. However, she didn't know if she would be able to forget about the discomfort she was feeling from the very beginning. The journey had been marked by constant nausea, an unrelenting exhaustion that clung to her like a shadow, and an omnipresent fear that her body was on the verge of giving in. She had heard motherhood was a gift, but it seemed it came wrapped in the most daunting of challenges. At first, she dismissed the persistent symptoms as normal pregnancy struggles. It was her fourth pregnancy after all, and she had become somewhat accustomed to the discomfort. She believed that time and patience would be the remedy. However, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the debilitating morning sickness coupled with a constant feeling of lethargy never wanted. Kim couldn't remember a moment when she didn't feel as if her body was betraying her, but as the pregnancy progressed, she began to feel her baby kick and grow just like the other ones had done. She felt that this was the only confirmation she needed to keep going and have faith that all would be all right in the end, despite the advice of her doctors. Kim resisted the idea of getting an ultrasound. The fear of the potential harm caused by the radiation on her growing baby consumed her thoughts. Instead, she chose to endure the tormenting wait, hopeful that the symptoms would subside and her baby would come into this world safely. This, of course, made many of her family members quite upset. They were convinced that there was something unusual going on with his pregnancy, which was developing so differently from the previous ones. Still, she was trying to take the challenge in stride as she donned a flowing mocha gown and posed in front of the beautiful calm sea. She smiled with grace and beauty that concealed the underlying exhaustion and discomfort. She knew that regardless of the struggles she had been enduring, she would still want to make beautiful memories of this time. The photographer's lens captured her in all her glowing splendor. Kim marveled at the images, and when they were shared with friends and family, their exclamations of wonder and admiration filled the room. They marveled at her radiant beauty, proclaiming how normal and effortless pregnancy appeared on her. Some people joked about how she looked a little like she could be carrying twins, whilst others said it was nonsense. She looked rather like she was having a healthy pregnancy, but Kim knew the truth. The smile in those pictures masked the deep fatigue that clouded her every moment. She felt like she was running on fumes, surviving solely on the love for her unborn child. She didn't dare to share her real struggles, and she didn't want to dampen the joy and excitement of those around her. She held on to the notion that her baby would make it all worth it. Then one fateful night, her world came crashing down. Kim was at home, lying on her side, trying to find a rare moment of comfort. The pain had started in her lower back and began radiating to her abdomen, increasing in intensity with each passing minute. A part of her knew what this meant. At the back of her mind, she acknowledged that she was probably in labor, but she refused to believe it. It was too early. Her baby was only due to come a few weeks later. She really wanted to try and keep him or her inside. For as long as possible, her husband stood anxiously at her side, wondering what to do next. He saw how she was struggling and finally made the decision to get her to the hospital. Kim protested, insisting that she was fine, and that with a bit of time the discomfort would ease off. But she couldn't have been more wrong. Instead, as time passed, she got more and more uncomfortable. Thanks to a mixture of strong hormones and her fear that her baby would come too early, she put up a massive fight, trying to prevent the labor and delivery from happening. But her husband had enough. He pulled the car around and half carried her to it, telling her he wasn't going to take no for an answer now. Sweating and trembling, he rushed her to the nearest hospital, where she was immediately taken into the labor and delivery ward. The doctors and nurses swarmed around her, trying to assess the situation. It was clear to them that she was in labor, and that things were progressing really quickly. They just didn't realize what was coming their way. They moved as fast as they could to get Kim ready to deliver her baby. But regardless of how fast they were moving, they were too slow for Kim's body. In an instant, before anybody could react or intervene, the unimaginable happened. She could feel the pressure building and the intense urge to bear down and push, which is just what she did. The baby popped out so fast that the nurses were just able to catch her by her feet. But then something insane happened, something no one had expected at all. Another baby came after the first, and Kim yelled in shock. She was having twins after all, but she was wrong again. confirmed the sphere is extraterrestrial in the forest. The crater suddenly begins glowing and moving, as if revealing something underneath it at the newspaper office. Frederick comes of amazement and joy, and they all recognize that Kim was a mother in a league of her own. She had not only endured discomfort and pain, like none of them could imagine for months, but had welcomed 5 children into the world, in the blink of an eye. It was a miracle that defied all odds and expectations. The news of Kim Tucci's extraordinary birth spread like wildfire, capturing the hearts and imaginations of people around the world. Reporters flocked to the hospital to hear her story, and social media buzzed with photos and well wishes. The Tucci family suddenly found themselves in the spotlight, their lives forever changed by this remarkable event, as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. Kim's quintuplates continued to thrive, each one developing their own unique personalities. The Tucci family faced new challenges, but they did so with strength and resilience, born from the extraordinary circumstances of their birth. Kim Tucci's journey had been one of unimaginable twists and turns. From the darkest moments of despair to the brightest rays of hope and joy. She had shown the world that even in the face of the most daunting challenges, love and determination could lead to the most extraordinary miracles. How would you have felt if you spontaneously felt pregnant with so many babies? What are your thoughts on Kim not knowing more about her pregnancy? Was it negligent or reasonable? Let us know your thoughts in